November. The Green Grub. November had arrived, the last month of autumn. The Green Grub decided to ask Dolly if he could spend the winter at her house. He knocked quietly on her door, but no one appeared. He knocked again. The ladybird girl eventually heard him and looked out. "Hi, Grub." "Hello, Dolly." "I was wondering," he began, but Dolly interrupted him. "I'm sorry, Grub, but I'm in a hurry. The great lightning beetle is coming to visit us soon, and we want to hold a concert in his honour. You can tell me when I come back, okay?" "Okay," the grub reluctantly agreed. He came back again the next day, but the ladybird girl still did not have time for him. She was practicing pretty music with Stanley and Alfonzo. "Come in, Grub. We can talk after the rehearsal," Dolly offered. The grub listened to the music for a little while, but it was too loud for him, so he left. He came again the next day, but the ladybird girl was not at home. He found a large leaf outside her house, and so he decided to lie on the leaf while he waited for her. He soon fell fast asleep and did not notice when the wind blew the leaf away. When he woke up, he was on the beach and a very long way from home. Dolly and her friends continued to practice on their instruments. By the time the great lightning beetle arrived, they were really ready and gave a perfect performance in honour of their friend in the Forest Concert Hall. Berry played the trumpet, Morris the horn, Frank the saxophone, Flutter the lyre, Bubble the triangle, Balthazar the zither, Rosita the xylophone, Eddie the cello, Stanley the double bass, Dolly the harp, Alfonzo the violin. The ants played the flutes, Zephyr and Leapy the cymbals, Charlie the accordion, and the spider played the drums. The ladybird girl only remembered the grub when the special guest left. "Where could the grub be? It's all my fault if something bad has happened to him. I didn't notice him go. I should have listened to him." Dolly was very upset indeed. The wind saw her crying. "I should never have blown the leaf so far away," he thought to himself. And then he blew through the whole sky searching for the green grub. He finally found him curled up on a seashell. So then he scooped up the shell with the grub and blew it hard and fast back to the familiar forest. The ladybird girl was strolling sadly when she caught sight of her little friend. She ran over and hugged him at once. "I'm so pleased that you've come back and that you're okay. I've looked for you all over the place," Dolly stuttered. "I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. Now you can tell me what you wanted to say." "The winter's on its way, and I'd like to come and stay with you away from the cold." "Of course you can. This box will make a perfect bed. I'll put a soft pillow in it and a tiny blanket. You'll feel very comfortable, I promise." October. Bubble tidies up. It was a sunny day in October, and Stanley the stag beetle and Bubble the flower beetle were collecting horse chestnuts in the forest. Most of the chestnuts had already rolled out of their cases, but there were still a few enclosed in their spiky coats.
"Look at this! Isn't it beautiful?"
Bubble enthused.
"Just like a baby in a cradle."
"We'll make little figures out of the chestnuts at home, okay?" Stanley asked.
"Okay,"
Bubble bounced. They soon arrived back at the stag beetle's house. They started working right away. Within no time, the table was covered in little chestnut characters.
"I'm going to take the ones I made home with me,"
Bubble decided. They soon arrived at the little yellow house with the tulip-shaped windows. Stanley shouted as soon as they walked inside, "Oh, what a mess, Bubble! And where are we going to put our chestnut figures in all this mix-up?"
"Hang on, I'll make a space for them on a shelf,"
said Bubble.
"There you go, they can go here,"
he announced with pride. "This is no good, Bubble. Tidy up." "I'm happy to help," Stanley offered.
"I don't like tidying up."
While Bubble was complaining, he accidentally kicked a spotty ball. The rocket pushed the toy cars. The cars toppled the robot, and that pushed over a pile of books. And a pretty gingerbread house dropped from the top of the pile that Rosita Rose Beetle had given him for Christmas.
"No! Rosita baked this for me,"
he showed Stanley. "But it's ruined now, Bubble," the stag beetle said with a shake of his head.
"I'll ask Rosita to bake another one."
"Okay, but after that we'll tidy up, okay?"
"Okay,"
Bubble agreed. Rosita was very happy to see them and invited them inside.
"Rosita, the gingerbread house you made me got smashed,"
Bubble admitted.
"Oh no, I worked so much on that present." "I know, and I'm sorry. It was an accident in the mess. But I've promised Stanley I'm going to tidy up my room. Please bake a new one for me." "Of course I'll bake you another one.
But promise to look after it this time," said Rosita, calmer now.
"I will,"
Bubble promised. When he got home, Bubble took a look around and wondered where to start tidying. "Starting is always the hardest part," the stag beetle reassured him. So Bubble set to work and soon he started to enjoy it. He was just adding the finishing touches when Rosita appeared. "Your new gingerbread house is ready," she proudly announced, and handed her creation to Bubble.
"Thank you,"
Bubble said with a smile.
"I'll give you one of my chestnut figures in return."
"Great, thank you. I'd like the snowman, please."
Dumplings. One autumn day, Dolly the ladybird cooked plum dumplings and invited her friends to lunch. Berry came along, and so did Balthazar, Stanley, and Flutter. The little ladybird girl put 3 dumplings on each plate. Berry, Dolly, and Flutter were soon full.
Plum dumplings. I love them. I could eat 5,
said Balthazar the bee. 5 is nothing. I could eat 7.
7? 7, I could eat 8.
I could eat 10, the little stag beetle announced.
Then let's have a competition,
Balthazar concluded.
Let's see who can eat the most dumplings.
Dolly didn't like the sound of this, and she tried to talk them out of it, but the boys were determined. It'll all end in tears, she warned, but Balthazar and Stanley wouldn't listen. We've already eaten 3 dumplings. Now let's eat the 4th, Stanley suggested, and he plopped another dumpling onto each plate. When they had finished, they put another on their plates and ate a 5th dumpling each. After the 5th, they ate a 6th. After the 6th, they ate a 7th. After the 7th, they ate an 8th. And then a 9th dumpling.
And now for the 10th. Can you keep going?
Balthazar asked. I could eat twice as many, Stanley said with a shrug. The 2 friends ate so many dumplings that their tummies started to hurt more and more. I'll run and get Dr. Owl, shouted Flutter the butterfly. Dr. Owl examined them both and gave them a good telling off. What have you 2 been doing? I'm not surprised that you've got stomachache.
They ate 15 each, Berry said as he counted the plum stones on the plates.
And so it was a draw after all. It was a very silly thing to do. You'll only be allowed to eat boiled potatoes for 3 days. But the chimney cake man's coming to the forest tomorrow, Stanley complained. I'm very sorry, but there's going to be no chimney cake for you. Come and see me in 3 days and I'll take a look at your tummies again, Dr. Owl said with a scowl, and he flew away home. The very next day, the firebug arrived in the meadow with his delicious chimney cakes. All the forest friends flocked to the stall to sample his tasty wares. I'd like a cinnamon one, Dolly said.
And I'd like a coconut one, Berry added.
I only want sugar on mine, Flutter shouted. But there were also cakes with walnuts, poppy seeds and chocolate on them. Balthazar and Stanley looked sadly on, but they did as Dr. Owl had told them. On the 3rd day, the little bee and his stag beetle friend went to see Dr. Owl. Now let's take a look at you, said the elderly owl, as he examined them both thoroughly. You appear to be better. I can see that you did as you were told. We did, Stanley said with a sob, but I so wanted to eat a chimney cake. Stanley and Balthazar said goodbye to Dr. Owl and were walking home when the old bird shouted after them. Wait 1 second. I've got something for you here. I saved 2 chimney cakes for you.
You went to the meadow, Dr. Owl?
Of course. I bought chimney cakes for my chicks and I put 2 away for you. You did exactly as I said, and so I thought you deserved a treat. Thank you, the 2 friends said with a smile, and they both threw their arms around Dr. Owl. The Robot. One autumn morning, Frank the longhorn beetle visited his old friend Stanley. The stag beetle was really pleased to see his faraway friend. I've brought you something, Frank said secretively, and put a little box into Stanley's hand. The stag beetle opened the package with excitement. It was a silver-coloured robot. I built it for you. It can walk, make funny noises, and has flashing lights. Stanley was delighted with the present. Thank you, Frank. I'll take special care of it. The longhorn beetle stayed with the stag beetle for 3 days. They talked a lot, played football, ate nice food, and went for long walks together. At the end of the 3rd day, Frank said goodbye to Stanley and went on his way. The stag beetle suddenly felt lonely. But he wasn't alone for long because Berry the snail boy soon knocked on the door. Hi, Stanley. Do you want to play button football? Of course. We can go in a minute. But let me show you something first, Stanley said. Then he stood on a chair and took the robot down from a bookshelf. But the chair wobbled underneath him and the little figure slipped out of his hand and fell into a million pieces. Oh, my robot! My robot's broken, Stanley cried. Let's try and put it back together again, Berry suggested. OK. Stanley sulked. The two boys struggled for a long time, but there was no way they could put all the pieces back together again. Let's call Eddie. He can fix anything, Berry suggested, and the two friends hurried off. They even forgot to close the door. They soon arrived at Eddie's house. Hi, Eddie. Please help. Frank gave me a robot, but I dropped it and it fell to pieces. I'm sure you can put it together again, the stag beetle pleaded. I'm sorry, but I'm too busy at the minute. I promised Leapy that I would mend her bicycle. But I'll go over to your house and help tomorrow, OK? The potato beetle said. Only tomorrow? OK then, come over tomorrow, the stag beetle snivelled. Berry and Stanley said a sad goodbye to the potato beetle and set off home again. While they were away, Berry the baby beetle was walking past Stanley's house. He was surprised to see the door wide open and walked in. He noticed the broken robot on the floor, and so he sat down and started to patiently put it all back together again. The stag beetle stepped sadly back into his house. But when he saw the robot, his bad mood evaporated. The robot was walking again, beeping and flashing its lights as if nothing had happened. Hi, Bubble. How did you end up here? And what happened to my broken robot? I was walking past and came in because the door was open. I saw the pieces of the robot on the floor and fixed it, the baby beetle answered proudly. Stanley was so delighted that he picked Bubble up and threw him into the air 3 times. Hooray! You're very clever, Bubble. Thank you. The next day, Stanley invited Dolly over to show her the robot. Soon, Eddie appeared as he had promised. But he did not need to fix it because now it was better than new. Stanley didn't put the robot back on the shelf after that, so it couldn't fall off again. Instead, he placed it carefully on a little cupboard next to his bed. Kindergarten. One autumn morning, Dolly knocked excitedly on Berry's door. Come quickly, Berry, or we'll be late. Berry got ready and the two friends held hands and walked to the nursery together. Lots of little children were gathered in the playground. They were all so happy to see each other. There was Balthazar the bee, Flutter the butterfly, Stanley the stag beetle, Eddie the potato beetle, Zephyr the dragonfly, Alfonzo the cricket, Leapy the grasshopper, and Bubble the baby beetle. Mrs. Bumblebee patiently guided everybody into their classrooms. The little, middle and top children went into different rooms. Bubble was in the little group. He waved to Berry and Dolly from the doorway. The day started with exercises. After breakfast, the children made beautiful pictures using the leaves they collected in the woods. When everybody had finished, Mrs. Bumblebee gathered the children in a circle. She taught them lots of songs and games. The children all danced around. Then it was playtime. Mrs. Bumblebee sat in a rocking chair and watched the children. Berry and the boys ran straight over to the car box and started playing cars. They built ramps and tunnels. "Can I join in, boys?" Dolly asked. She was holding a broken red car. "Oh no, Dolly, you can't play cars with that old thing," Berry told her. "And anyway, cars are for boys, not girls." That made Dolly cry. "The boys don't want to play with me," she told Flutter. Flutter, Leapy and Zephyr quickly cheered her up. "Come and play with us. We're playing with dolls." The girls dressed their dolls in pretty dresses, fed them and rocked them to sleep. Dolly liked this game a lot. Then Berry got into an argument with Morris the Maybug. "You keep knocking my car over. It's not fair. You're a cheat," Berry shouted. "That's not true. You're a cheat," replied Morris. "That's it. I'm not playing with you anymore," Berry said sulkily and left the boys. "Can I join in your game?" Berry asked his friend Dolly. "You can't play with us. It's a girls' game," Dolly sulked. "But I brought this doll with me. It's got curly hair. I want to play with you." "All right, come and play with us. But now you have to let me play cars with you." "Children, time to wash your hands," Mrs. Bumblebee shouted. "Then go and sit down at the tables." Mrs. Earwig, the dinner lady, dished up their dinner. When everybody had finished eating, Berry and Dolly collected up all the plates and glasses. Then the children had a little lie down while Mrs. Bumblebee read them a story. They all listened in silence, and a few of them fell fast asleep. When they got up, they all had a snack and went out into the playground. It was enormous and filled with all kinds of slides, climbing frames and swings, with a big wooden train in the middle. Berry and Morris quickly made friends again and played on the swings together. Dolly helped Bubble up the slide and caught him at the bottom. Bubble liked that a lot. The rest of the day flew by, and soon the children were waving goodbye to each other. They couldn't wait for tomorrow to come. The Missing Nuts. "Hello, Berry. Hurry up. Let's go and see Reggie Squirrel. We really should say goodbye to him before he hibernates for winter," Dolly the ladybird said. Berry put on his hat, scarf and gloves, and the two friends made their way to Reggie Squirrel's home. Their friend the squirrel was sitting on a branch in front of his home. "We wanted to say goodbye before you snuggle up to sleep through the chilly winter," Dolly shouted up to Reggie. "Why don't you come up for a glass of juice and a quick nut snack?" Reggie suggested. "Look at all the yummy food I've gathered for winter. My pantry's full." But oh dear, to everyone's surprise, the pantry was completely empty. "Oh my, where have all my hazelnuts and walnuts gone? Where are my delicious pine cones, acorns and raisins?" "I think this might be where the nuts rolled out," Berry said, pointing to a little hole in the corner of the pantry. "Someone's been chewing the tree trunk," Dolly said in surprise. "And I think I know who it was," the little snail added. "Don't worry, Reggie. We'll catch the troublemakers and find your nuts." "And don't forget the pine cones and acorns too," the squirrel added. The two friends headed towards the big meadow. They heard loud laughter as they got closer. "I knew it was them. They're always getting into some sort of trouble," Dolly whispered to Berry. "I'm sure they're doing something naughty right now," Berry added. "Someone chewed a hole in Reggie Squirrel's tree trunk right outside his pantry. And now all of his nuts are missing." "It was you lot, wasn't it?" Berry asked. "But we didn't mean any harm.
We were just chewing the bark like we always do, and we didn't know that his pantry was on the other side," the smallest bark beetle explained. "What can we do to help?" "Come with us and we'll find the nuts that rolled away. We haven't got that much time. It could start to snow at any minute. We'll never be able to find his food in the snow, so hurry." They all took a close look at the tree trunk.
"The nuts all rolled out here and then they fell to the ground and carried on rolling down the hill,"
Reggie explained. The gang of friends found Reggie's goodies in a pile at the bottom of the hill.
"Hooray!"
Reggie shouted with delight.
"Would you please bring all the food back to my home while I patch the hole up in my pantry?"
Reggie told the bark beetles. They carefully placed the hazelnuts, walnuts and acorns back in his pantry. Berry and Dolly gave them a hand. They worked as fast as they could, but it got dark very quickly, and they still had a huge stack left at the bottom of the hill. "We'll never finish in time," one of the bark beetles sighed. "We could really use some extra help," another added. Berry the snail suddenly sprang to his feet and left in a hurry without saying a word. He was soon back and had a trumpet in his hand. He blew it so loudly that everybody could hear it. Soon all the friends in the forest gathered. Dolly climbed up on a big boulder and told them all what had happened to Reggie Squirrel's winter food supply. "All the nuts rolled out of the hole. We've got to take the food back to Reggie's home. If you all help, it can be done before dark." "Ready, set, go," Berry said, and he lifted a nut from the pile. He gave it to Dolly. She handed it to one of the bark beetles. The bark beetle gave it to the bee handed it to the dragonfly, and so it moved back up the hill to the squirrel's pantry. By the time the moon appeared in the sky, all the hazelnuts, acorns, walnuts and chestnuts were safely stowed away in Reggie Squirrel's winter home. Reggie happily put the last nut back in his packed pantry.
"Thank you. I'm so glad I've got so many good friends. It's time for me to tuck myself up in bed before it starts snowing. See you again in spring."
The grateful squirrel yawned.
Little kids and big kids. There were 2 football pitches next to the kindergarten. The little kids played next to the pine tree. Bubble the baby beetle was the captain, the little bark beetle was goalie, and the ant boys made up the rest of the team. The big kids played in the shade of the oak tree. Stanley the stag beetle, Balthazar the bumblebee, Eddie the potato beetle, and Berry the snail boy. The little kids played with a spotty rubber ball. The big kids had a proper football. One autumn day, Balthazar picked up the little kid's ball and he started to do tricks with it.
"Look at this," he teased. "Give it back, it's ours," Bubble whined. "I only want to show you how high I can kick it,"
boasted Balthazar, and he gave the rubber ball a mighty kick. He kicked it so hard that the ball burst. Now there's only one ball left. The little kids can have it in the morning and the big kids can play with it in the afternoon, the kindergarten teacher decreed. The big kids kept taking the ball from the little kids. And the little kids would steal it from the big kids. They were constantly quarrelling. Why don't you play together? Dolly asked the boys. Together? Never. The little kids are weedy and clumsy, yelled Stanley the stag beetle.
"And the big kids are horrid and pushy,"
the little ant boy shouted back.
Stop being so silly. Play a match instead. Little kids versus big kids.
How can 4 little kids win against 4 big kids?
The bark beetle complained. All right then, Leapy and I will join in with the little kids. Then there'll be 6 of us against 4 big kids. How about that? The ladybird girl asked. Super, they all agreed. They started to play. They had so much fun that they hardly noticed the time fly by. In the end, thanks to a tricky goal from Bubble, the little kids won the match 5-4.
Same again tomorrow,
Balthazar said to Bubble the baby beetle.
we can play a rematch.
The next day they played the rematch. This time the big kids beat Bubbles' team 4-3. The little kids aren't so clumsy after all, Stanley grumbled, and the 2 captains shook hands. A new boy came to kindergarten the day after that. The little flea brought his own stripy ball and he let the little kids play with it. This meant that Bubbles' team went back to the pine tree and the big kids stayed on the larger pitch. They sometimes played together after that, but they did not count the goals. Blueberries. One sunny autumn day, Berry and Dolly went into the forest to pick blueberries. Their friends Flutter the butterfly and Eddie the potato beetle went with them.
I'm going to pick the most blueberries,
Eddie announced.
Look, this bush is full of ripe blueberries,
The little snail said.
I'm going to pick them all.
But Eddie jumped in front of Berry and quickly picked the biggest berries.
This bush is full of berries too,
Dolly told the others. But the little potato beetle was faster again. By the time Dolly got to the bush, he'd already picked the best of the berries.
Eddie, that's not fair. Don't pick all the berries,
the little ladybird complained. Then the friends came to a stream.
Let's build a bridge over the stream,
Flutter suggested.
And I know exactly how. Let's all go and bring that big log here.
They had to work hard to pull the heavy log over the stream. The little friends made a super bridge together.
It's done,
Flutter sighed.
Look, there's another blueberry bush with lots of berries on it.
That was Eddie's cue.
I'm going to get there first. Those blueberries are all mine,
he shouted triumphantly. But he pushed past Flutter so hard that she slipped and fell into the stream.
Help!
Don't worry, Flutter. Hold on to me, Dolly shouted and stretched her hand out to the floundering butterfly. But the water flowed too fast and Flutter couldn't reach Dolly. Berry picked up a long stick.
Grab the stick, Flutter,
he shouted. But this didn't work either because the river started to carry the little butterfly away.
Eddie, help! We've got to pull poor Flutter out of the water,
Dolly yelled, and they pulled the soggy butterfly out of the stream.
Oh my, I'm so cold. I'm very, very cold. And my little wings are soaked through.
Here, take my jumper. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, Flutter, Eddie said.
That's very nice of you,
Dolly said.
But you'll catch a cold too without your jumper. We should collect a large pile of leaves and wrap Flutter up in them.
Berry, Dolly and Eddie gathered a big
bunch of burdock leaves and covered the shivering butterfly with them. "I'm still very cold and my wings don't work. Look, they're all wet and ruined." Flutter started to sob. The sun took pity on the weeping butterfly and came down close to warm her wings. Flutter's wings were soon beautifully dry and as good as new. "Hooray! I'm all dry and warm at last. Thank you, sun," Flutter said with a smile. "I'm so sorry, Flutter," Eddie said. "I promise I won't pick all the blueberries next time. I want you to have all the ones that I've picked." "Thank you, Eddie. Why don't we share them instead? Let's hurry home and bake a blueberry pie." The friends all walked back to Flutter's house and got to work straight away. They picked all the leaves off and gave the blueberries a good wash. Spoons stirred and pans clattered until the kitchen was filled with the sweet smell of delicious blueberry pie. The yummy dessert was soon ready. Stanley the stag beetle, Balthazar the bee, and Bubble the baby beetle came along to join the feast. The forest friends all sat around the table and chatted late into the night.
September. Reggie Squirrel. Autumn had arrived, and it was Reggie Squirrel's 7th birthday. Reggie woke up early and set off excitedly to visit the stag beetle. He knocked loudly on Stanley's door, but no one answered. Berry and Balthazar's houses were empty too.
No one's at home. Who can I celebrate my birthday with?
He sobbed to himself.
Hi there, happy birthday,
shouted Harry Hedgehog. Your friends told me to take you for a ride while they prepare your present.
So that's why no one's at home,
Reggie said, smiling again. He sat in the hedgehog cart and they set off. In the meantime, the centipede busily raked the leaves up and the woodworms wriggled about in them.
That's enough of that. I need to clear the leaves from the path,
the centipede said.
You could pick the litter up because we should look after nature. Okay, we'll help,
the woodworms whistled. Then they saw Harry Hedgehog and Reggie Squirrel, and they waved at the birthday boy when the hedgehog cart passed them. It was the afternoon by the time they got back to Reggie Squirrel's home.
Happy birthday!
All the forest friends shouted with glee. Reggie Squirrel saw that the pals had bandaged the oak tree.
You've made my tree better, Reggie said with a tear in his eye. Hooray for Reggie Squirrel!
Shouted a band of squeaky little voices, and the fireflies appeared high up above.
We've made you 7 lanterns for your 7th birthday. They're beautiful,
said Reggie, clapping his paws together. At that point, Berry and Dolly handed the hazelnut cake they had made to Reggie. And while they were eating, Zephyr made an announcement.
A 7th birthday is an important thing because 7 is a special number. There are 7 colours in the rainbow. A dragon has 7 heads. And there are 7 days in a week. There are 7 dwarfs in the story about Snow White. And there are 7 notes on a musical scale. You still haven't seen your main present,
said the little flower beetle as he hopped around.
Have you found the hot air balloon? Reggie asked with a surprised smile. We found it and fixed it, said a proud Berry. Come on, we'll take you for a flight. Hooray! Reggie Squirrel cried, and he hopped happily into the balloon's basket. They flew high above the tiny houses and had a super view of the forest from the sky. Then the stars appeared, and Reggie stared in delight at the twinkling night sky. It's been a busy day, hasn't it? Asked Dolly. Yes, it's been a busy and brilliant birthday, Reggie Squirrel agreed with a grin. Good night, the little friends shouted, and the squirrel climbed sleepily back into his house, cuddled up in his little bed, and soon fell fast asleep.
The Mushroom's Cap. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Flutter, Stanley and Bubble all set off for a long walk in the woods. They were strolling happily along when they heard someone crying. "It's coming from behind that bush," Berry whispered to the others. They saw a little mushroom crying, and he looked odd because he didn't have a cap. "Who took your cap?" Dolly asked in her kindest voice.
I don't know. It was missing when I woke up this morning.
"Don't worry, we'll help you. We'll find you another cap," Berry reassured the miserable mushroom. The friends all ran back to their houses and returned carrying all kinds of different caps and hats. "We've brought some new hats to try," they said, and tried them all on the mushroom's head in turn. Dolly put her dotted hat on him first, but it didn't seem to suit the mushroom at all. Then Flutter put her witch's hat on his head.
But I don't want to be a nasty witch,
the mushroom grumbled. Then Bubble produced a yellow baseball cap, but it was too small. Berry was next to try. "I've brought two hats. This is my gardening hat, and this is my devil's hat." The gardening hat looked funny on the mushroom's head, but he wasn't happy.
I don't like this one,
he said in a sullen voice. The devil's hat made him even angrier.
I'm not a little devil, you know,
he shouted with a red face. But he got most upset when Balthazar showed him the red saucepan.
But this is a saucepan. I can't go around with a silly saucepan.
It's not a normal saucepan,
Balthazar replied sharply.
It's our snowman's hat.
The last one to try was Stanley the stag beetle, who had brought a top hat for the mushroom.
Oh, I quite like the look of this one,
the mushroom enthused.
But can't you find my old cap? That's the one I want to wear the most.
So the forest friends started to search for the mushroom's spotty cap. 3 canary chicks suddenly flew by. "We know where the mushroom's cap is. We saw 3 woodworms using it for a rowing boat." "Everyone down to the stream!" Dolly shouted. And sure enough, 3 woodworms were singing and rowing along in the mushroom's cap.
"Give the mushroom his cap back,"
Berry shouted.
"But we promised to go visit our friends the fleas. We need a boat to get to their house."
"But that's a cap, not a boat, and it belongs to the mushroom. Give it back to him," Berry argued. The woodworms eventually gave in and gave the cap back. "But how will we go and see the fleas now?" they asked sadly. "We can take you. We're flying to the little island," the 3 canary chicks twittered. "Hooray! We're going to fly!" the woodworms shouted and jumped for joy. "But we have to take the mushroom his cap back first."
"You mean the boat?"
The naughty woodworms chuckled, but Dolly gave them one of her serious looks and they stopped laughing.
Oh, thank you so much.
The mushroom said with a big smile as he put it on his head.
It fits just perfectly.
The woodworms hopped onto the canaries' backs.
Have a safe trip.
The mushroom shouted. Enjoy the flight, the others added. The forest friends all said a final goodbye to the mushroom and walked home with their hats on their heads.
The big spider. Berry, Dolly, Flutter and Balthazar were gathering colourful leaves in the woods when they heard someone crying. Can you hear something, Berry? Dolly asked. Yes, it's coming from the cave. The friends were frightened, but went deeper and deeper into the dark cave. Then they saw where the noise was coming from. A baby beetle sat crying. Oh dear, what's wrong, baby beetle? Why are you crying? I got lost in this dark cave and I can't find my way out. How am I going to get back to my little house? What's your name? Berry asked. Bubble. Come on, don't be sad, Bubble. We'll show you the way to your house, Dolly said and hugged the baby beetle. Suddenly, they heard a scary sound from deep inside the cave. They hugged each other. All of a sudden, a big, angry spider appeared and shouted at them.
Who woke me up? What are you doing in my cave?
Run, everybody!
Balthazar yelled, and they all ran. Let's hide here, Dolly said, and they all hid behind a rock. Luckily, the spider didn't spot them, but then Bubble started crying, and the spider found their hiding place. Berry, Dolly, Bubble, Balthazar and Flutter ran as fast as they could. But oh dear, Balthazar tumbled over a stone and the big spider caught up with them. Berry grabbed a spiky twig and bravely defended his friends. Go away, you ugly spider, he shouted. Berry diverted the big spider's attention while Flutter and Balthazar ran around it with a length of thread. Dolly looked after little Bubble and kept him safe.
We've got you now!
Balthazar shouted triumphantly. The spider tried to get out of the tangle, but it couldn't. And then it started to cry.
I didn't want to hurt you. I've never hurt anybody before. I was just mad because you woke me up. Please let me go. I'll show you the way out of the cave.
Do you promise you really won't hurt us? Berry asked.
Yes, I promise. Climb on my back and I'll carry you out.
They all sat on the spider's back and were soon outside again. It's time for us to say goodbye.
Please come and see me again.
Thank you for your help, Spider, Flutter said. Bubble had fallen asleep in the ladybird's arms. What should we do with him? Puzzled Dolly. Let's build a pram, Berry suggested, and they got to work immediately. They made him a pram out of a horse chestnut shell with wheels out of little logs. But where does he live? I know, Flutter said. The baby beetle didn't wake up until they reached his house.
Oh, my little house. Have you brought me home? Thank you so much.
Good night, little Bubble.
Sleep tight and don't go into that cave all by yourself again because you'll get lost,
Berry and Dolly said. Then they gave Bubble a hug. Alfonzo's Fiddle. One autumn day, Alfonzo the cricket stood happily playing his fiddle in the mushroom field. The forest friends were all enjoying the lovely music. The little ants were playing football on the hill. But oh dear, the ball bounced away and knocked the fiddle clean out of Alfonzo's hands. Alfonzo shouted in horror,
My fiddle! My fiddle's broken!
And then he burst into tears. He was sobbing so loudly that everyone came to see what the fuss was all about. Alfonzo pointed angrily at the spotty ball.
That ball is to blame, and those naughty ants. Where am I going to get a fiddle from now?
He picked his broken fiddle up, went into his house and slammed the door shut behind him. Alfonzo, come out, I'm sure we can help you, Berry pleaded. But Alfonzo didn't want to see anybody. His friends sat sadly in the mushroom field and didn't know what to do. Then Dolly had an idea. I know! Let's make Alfonzo a new fiddle! Yes, let's make a new fiddle! Flutter the butterfly nodded. I know who can help us. We have to find Charlie the click beetle. He made Alfonzo's first fiddle. The band of friends set off and walked until they reached a blue house. They knocked on the door. A tiny, timid beetle popped his head out. He wore a blue hat and had beautiful dark blue wings.
Who are you?
He asked. Dolly told Charlie the whole story.
Oh, if that's your problem, I'm happy to help. Don't be sad. Alfonzo will be playing music on his new fiddle in no time at all.
The click beetle gave everybody a job to do. Some collected wood for the body of the fiddle, while others gathered grass for the strings. Now he had everything he needed. Charlie got to work. He sawed, sanded, polished and waxed. And then, like a little miracle, the new fiddle was ready. Can I try it? Dolly asked. No. It's Alfonzo's instrument, Flutter told her. But I want to have my own musical instrument, Dolly sulked.
Me too,
the little ants shouted.
Quiet,
said Charlie.
Why don't you all start an orchestra? A great big orchestra, like a music band, and everybody could have their own instrument.
That's a very good idea. The first thing they made was a harp for Dolly. Stanley the stag beetle got a double bass, and Eddie the potato beetle had a cello. Berry made a trumpet out of a lily. Morris the maybug made a horn from a honeysuckle flower. The big spider used horse chestnuts and acorns for drums, whilst Zephyr and Leapy made cymbals out of pebbles. Charlie carved flutes from birch twigs for the ants. Flutter the butterfly got a lute. And Balthazar the bee got a zither. Bubble the baby beetle played a triangle. They all had a quick practice and then headed for Alfonzo's house. Alfonzo heard the music and looked out of his window to see where it was coming from. He was surprised by what he saw.
Please, Alfonzo, the little ant began. Don't be mad at us for breaking your fiddle. We'd like you to have this new one as a present. Charlie made it.
Alfonzo began to play straight away, and the sound of his fiddle filled the forest once more.
Fairy cards. Flutter the Butterfly Girl had a favourite card game. There were 16 cards in total, with pictures of pretty fairies in yellow, dark blue, pink, green, orange, red, purple, and light blue dresses. No two cards were alike. The girls played with their fairy memory cards all the time. Stanley the Stag Beetle thought of a horrid joke to play. I could scribble on all the cards, he thought naughtily to himself, but he didn't dare do it. And so he tried to talk Balthazar into ruining the pretty cards. Balthazar, wouldn't it be funny to scribble all over Flutter's cards? The silly bumblebee gave a sneaky snigger and started to scribble on the cards with a dark green felt-tip pen. He drew moustaches, devil's horns, forks, and a devil's tail on the pictures of the pretty fairies. The Butterfly Girl saw her cards that afternoon and screamed in horror. "What happened to my lovely cards?" she asked in a panicky voice, and Flutter began to sob. "What a horrid thing to do! Who could have done such a thing?" Dolly asked, sounding terribly shocked.
I know who did it. Balthazar's the only one with a dark green pen,
Zephyr said in an angry tone.
and I saw a green mark on his hand.
"Did you do this?" Berry asked gruffly.
That's not how it happened.
Then how did it happen?
It's all Stanley's fault. It was his idea.
But I didn't scribble all over the cards.
Flutter sobbed and Reggie Squirrel gave her a comforting cuddle.
The one who thought it up is naughty and the one who did it,
Reggie Squirrel snapped strictly.
You're both naughty.
That was a really stupid joke, boys. Just imagine if we burst your football,
Zephyr added.
How sad would that make you feel?
You're right,
Stanley admitted.
Flutter, we'll take your cards and see if we can get the scribbles off them. OK?
OK,
sniffed the Butterfly Girl. Stanley and Balthazar strolled sadly home and got straight to work trying to fix the cards they had scribbled all over. But the harder they tried, the more mess they made. The rubber made a hole in the paper and holes appeared all over the place.
Berry, help! We couldn't rub the scribbles off and we've made a hole with all the rubbing. That's because you can't rub felt-tip pen out. Let's go and ask Dolly for help.
Dolly, help! We can't fix the cards.
I'm not going to help you. It was all your idea, so you have to put it right. Don't be so unfair. Please help, because Stanley and Balthazar really do want to make things better again.
OK, come on in. The three boys sat down at the table.
They can't be fixed.
The boys just sat and looked sad. We have to think of something else, and I've already got an idea. Let's make new cards. Dolly placed pieces of white card on the table and took out her felt-tip pens. The boys cut the cards out and Dolly tried to copy the fairy pictures. Then Balthazar and Stanley carefully coloured the drawings in. All 8 fairies were soon ready, and of course there were 2 of each.
You draw so nicely, Dolly.
Now give them to Flutter and say that you're sorry.
Flutter, look! We've made you a whole new set of cards.
Dolly drew them and we coloured them in.
Please be friends with us again.
Flutter flicked through all the cards and a smile spread across her face.
Thank you,
she said and invited the boys into the house. They were soon joined by Berry, Dolly and Zephyr, and the friends played until late with the new pack of cards. And they were all the best of friends once again. Bubble has hiccups. One fine day in autumn, Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Flutter, Stanley and Bubble set off on a walk to the waterfall. Bubble suddenly started to hiccup. Balthazar offered him his water bottle.
Have a drink of water. That'll stop it. Bubble took a couple of gulps, but his hiccups still didn't stop. Have a bite to eat, Dolly told him. That'll stop it. Bubble bit into his bread roll, but his hiccups still didn't stop. Hold your breath for a while. That'll stop it, Flutter advised. Bubble held his breath for a long while, but his hiccups still didn't stop. In the end, Stanley came up with a plan to make Bubble jump. He hurried off and hid behind a big tree. Just as Bubble was walking past, he jumped out with a shout from behind the tree and gave the flower beetle a fright. In fact, he was so shocked he fell over. And his hiccups stopped. But now Bubble was cross with Stanley. That was a very mean thing to do. I don't jump out at you from behind trees. I only wanted to help. I stopped your hiccups. I still don't like it when people make me jump, Bubble grumbled. All right, I won't help you next time, the stag beetle shouted back. They all carried on their way and soon arrived at the waterfall. It looks so lovely, Bubble shouted, and he ran so fast towards the waterfall that he slipped right in. Stanley caught him by the arms at the very last minute and pulled him out of the water. Thank you, Bubble snivelled. I'm sorry I got so cross. We need to get home as quickly as we can because Bubble is soaked to the skin. He could catch a chill, Dolly said with concern. They then all heard thunderous footsteps from behind the trees and an enormous lizard appeared right before them. Don't be afraid of me, he said. Which way are you going? I'll happily give you a ride on my back. The forest friends were delighted by the idea and happily hopped onto the lizard's back. And as they made their way back home, Bubble slowly started to hiccup again. I'm definitely not going to make you jump again. Hiccups can stop just as easily on their own. That's exactly what happened. By the time the lizard arrived back at Bubble's house, his hiccups had completely stopped. The little beetle said goodbye to all his pals. After Bubble, the lizard took Stanley and Balthazar to their houses. The stag beetle and the bumblebee thanked him for the ride and waved him happily on his way. Soon after that, they arrived at Dolly's house, where the ladybird girl said goodbye to her friends and hopped off the lizard's back, shortly followed by Berry. Flutter was now the final passenger, and it was getting dark by the time the lizard delivered her back home. Thanks so much for all your help, lizard, Flutter said, before stepping into her house, where she went straight to bed. Earache. It was a sunny autumn afternoon and Dolly decided to go and see her friend Berry. I'm going down to the stream to collect pebbles. Do you want to come? But Berry didn't feel like going out to play. I don't know, Dolly. I'm very cold and I've got a headache and my ears really hurt. Oh, Berry, your ears are all red, Dolly said. And you've got a temperature. I'll fly and fetch Dr. Owl. The ladybird flew straight to Dr. Owl's tree. Dr. Owl, you need to come quickly. Berry feels very poorly. Dr. Owl quickly packed his doctor's bag, put on his white coat and hurried to see the sickly snail. Hello there, Berry. Let me have a look at you.
I need to listen to your chest.
So Berry took off his pyjama top and breathed in like the doctor said.
Open wide. I need to look at your throat now.
I don't want to, Berry snapped.
But I have to see if it's red or not, Dr. Owl explained, and shone a torch down the little snail's throat. And now I'll take a peek inside your ear.
This was really too much for Berry. He started to cry and clamped his hands over his ears. Don't be silly, Berry. It won't hurt a bit. And Dolly held Berry's hand to make him feel better. She was right. It didn't hurt a bit.
Well, Berry, Dr. Owl explained, you've bad earache. You've gone and caught a nasty cold. You need to have a spoonful of this medicine every day. Drink lots of sweet tea and put bags of warm wheat on your ears.
Berry's friends came to help him right away. Balthazar brought honey, Flutter bought chamomile flowers, and Stanley brought rose hips, and they made tea for the patient. Dolly warmed the wheat in a pan and poured it into little cloth bags. Hold these on your ears until they cool down. Berry put the bags on and didn't take them off until they cooled down. Next morning, Dolly found a handful of shiny pebbles on Berry's table. Wow, Berry! Lovely pebbles! Who gave you these? I found them down by the stream, Berry said proudly. You went down to the stream? Dolly asked angrily. That was very silly, Berry. You're still not better. You'll get sick again. And Dolly was right. Berry was soon back in bed with a temperature. His little friends came to visit him every day. They read him stories and put on puppet shows. But just as Berry started to get better, Dolly started feeling worse. Now she'd got earache, and this time Berry took care of Dolly. He made her tea and warmed the wheat bags for her ears. Now it was time for Dr. Owl to pay Dolly a visit.
Gracious me, it seems we have a new patient. I think you must have caught it from Berry.
He told Dolly exactly what to do. Then he took another quick look at Berry.
You look well enough, but I'll examine you just in case. Everything's fine. You've made a full recovery, little snail.
Another few days passed. Dolly did as she was told and took her medicine. She drank plenty of tea and stayed in bed, and she soon felt much better. Dr. Owl came to see her one last time and told her she was fine. So now we can go down to the stream together and collect pebbles. Berry was very excited. Hooray! Let's all go down to the stream! Dr. Owl's 3 chicks tweeted.
Remember to dress up nice and warm. It's cold outside.
But there was no need to warn Dolly and Berry. They both wore a scarf, a hat, and warm boots. They stayed and played until it got dark and collected a whole bucket full of shiny pebbles.